Many universities have an honors college that houses their best students regardless of their major. UT Austin instead has over a dozen honors programs for students depending on their major. In this video, I cover the non-STEM honors programs, Plan 2 honors, liberal arts honors, and Moody communications honors. Applying to an honors program at UT doesn't require much extra effort. However, all programs are highly competitive and comparable with admission to most selective universities nationwide. My general rule of thumb to be competitive for non-STEM honors programs is ranking in at least the top 5% of your class and scoring a 1450 as a minimum to be competitive. Even then, most admitted students have nearly perfect academics and outstanding essays and resumes. All honors programs will consider your regular admissions application, resume, and essays to help inform their decision. Because there isn't one honors college but many different programs, the requirements for each will differ somewhat and change from year to year. So it's always a good idea to consult each program's admissions page for the most updated application and admissions information. Most honors programs also have dedicated information sessions, so I recommend attending one if you're interested in applying, especially for Plan 2 honors because it's a pretty different sort of program, as I'll discuss in this video. I also want to emphasize that applying to an honors program in no way influences your regular admissions chances. The Office of Admissions makes those regular admissions decisions, while staff in each honors program will review and determine who they accept. Your honors essay submission should add new information to your application. Do not repeat content that you've already discussed in your regular admissions essays. There are two honors programs for freshmen in the College of Liberal Arts. They have Plan 2 honors and liberal arts honors. Each program has similarities but also crucial differences. Their websites have a lot of useful information that will help you determine which program is right for you. I'll talk a little bit about my experience as an enrolling freshman into UT's liberal arts honors program, and I also transitioned in the Humanities honors program during my junior year and completed that major by the end of my senior year. And Humanities is also housed in the LAH office. You can apply and gain admission to Plan 2 and LAH, but you can only participate in one. Many students in each program will pursue studies outside of the liberal arts, for example, like business, communications, and engineering, and these programs attract students from every academic discipline. Unlike other honors programs, you don't need to select liberal arts as your first choice, and Plan 2 even recommends putting liberal arts as your second choice. That way you can have consideration for a first choice major if it's something outside of liberal arts. Similar to business honors, each program recommends applying early since admissions decisions, at least in previous years, were released on a rolling basis. Although in the past and the most recent cycles, most honors programs didn't release their admissions decisions most of the time until February, after the Office of Admissions had already distributed their regular admissions outcomes. Let's discuss the specifics of Plan 2 honors. It was the first program of its kind at a public university, founded in the 1930s. It emphasized research, writing, and critical thinking, and it seeks to recreate the environment of a small liberal arts college, while having access to the broader resources of a public flagship university. Plan 2 is a major, and it has a set sequence of courses or elective options that you need to take for each of your 4 years. Those requirements include year-long courses each in philosophy and literature. You also need to take 2 non-Western or non-U.S. history classes, and you must also complete 2 Plan 2 math and science electives. There's also many cool upper division electives that are only available to Plan 2 students. Plan 2 students must also complete a senior thesis during their final year, and it's also the best fit for students who enjoy their humanities and social studies classes for its own sake. Plan 2 is an interdisciplinary and multidisciplinary honors program. And it may not be a good fit for those students whose primary motivation for college is to get a high-paying job or to go on to medical or law school, for example. Most Plan 2 students will double or triple major in something, and it's rare for someone to only be in Plan 2. Of all of UT honors programs, it's the most different from regular admissions relative to the non-honor student experience, and it's also the most involved with a lot of coursework requirements. This contrasts with Cockrell Engineering Honors or Turing CS Scholars, which honestly doesn't differ that much from the non-honors student experience. Plan 2 is one of the few programs at UT or anywhere that I highly recommend visiting or attending a prospective information session to learn more about it and see if it's a good fit for you. The next question to ask is, who gains admission to Plan 2 and what do they look for? Unlike most other UT honors programs, their admissions page has a lot of helpful and specific information. Plan 2 hasn't released its admissions data in many years, but the competition landscape now is honestly similar to it was a decade ago, compared to those skyrocketing application numbers in STEM or business majors. Plan 2 hasn't seen that kind of explosion in their application numbers, and they receive around 2,500 applicants each year, which was the case about a decade ago as well, and they admit around 400 to 500 students for an enrolling class of 175 to 200. The average admitted student will rank in the top 5% of their class and score a 1,500 or higher on the SAT. Even more important for Plan 2 admissions is their subjective criteria and holistic review process, which is something that they do by committee. In contrast, the STEM and business honors programs heavily weight academics, while Plan 2 is unique among all of the programs and placing more weight on the resume and writing quality and what they call Plan 2-ness. Plan 2 looks for students with quirky and varied interests pursued for their own sake. For example, one of my first admitted Plan 2 clients was a high-level male ballerina who also made large wooden sculptures with power tools and chainsaws. Applicants with conventionally strong resumes with many typical leadership experiences might excel, for example, in the business honors or natural science honors program and review processes, but they may not fare as well in Plan 2 because Plan 2 just looks for students that are a little bit different. They might also occasionally admit students outside of the top 10% or those scoring less than a 1450 on the SAT, whereas that will absolutely never happen in a STEM or a business honors program. Plan 2's website also reads about their evaluation process. Quote, "What is less cut and dried and will be evaluated on a more subjective level is the degree of sophistication and maturity we see in the essays of successful applicants. We also see a depth and richness in their non-academic activities and leadership experiences that combine to give an applicant an intangible sparkle. Great essays and those intangible qualities are what set successful applicants apart from the unsuccessful ones who might have similar or perhaps even higher grades, rank, and test scores." Close quote. The Plan 2 essay topic changes every year, so I won't cover tips and advice here since it'll likely be outdated by the time that this video is published. The topics usually involve topics around an issue of importance, like for example, if you could add a course that everyone in your high school would have to take, what would you add? Or if you could add a department to the federal executive branch, what would you include? So for these issue of importance type topics for Plan 2 or similar questions at other universities, it's important to choose an issue that relates to you and your interests rather than selecting something random or that you think that the admissions people want to hear. With any college essay or topic, reviewers want to learn more about what's important to you. Moving on to liberal arts honors or LAH, starting with my personal experiences in the program and why I chose it. I chose to apply to LAH instead of Plan 2 when I was a high school senior because honestly, I wanted to minimize my math and science courses, and Plan 2 requires taking a few of them. I also didn't like Plan 2's somewhat rigid curriculum because LAH remains and is still, back then and now today, much more open-ended with few course requirements. We all took a 1-hour survey course during our first semester at UT, and most of us took a fun humanities role-playing course called History at Play or Reacting to the Past. And so LAH is sort of like a program how you choose to make of it. I preferred the maximum flexibility in determining my own path at UT rather than it being determined by a program like Plan 2 that has a set sequence of courses. One of the biggest benefits was LAH provided me with hands-on academic advising and access to small honors-only core curriculum courses. And as a first-generation college student, LAH was extraordinarily helpful for my transition and eventual success at UT. I received many scholarships as a UT student, and for full disclosure, I'm also an annual donor to an LAH scholarship endowment, but I don't have any influence in the admissions process. Many of my LAH cohort, honestly, they didn't do anything with the program after their freshman year, which that's not possible in something like Plan 2 or Dean Scholars. But I did continue with those upper division LAH courses in history and government. Like I mentioned earlier, I joined Humanities Honors as a junior, and Humanities allowed me to make a customized degree for a major that wasn't yet available yet at UT. My focus was international studies with an emphasis on civil war and genocide. My senior thesis investigated military leadership in Serbia and also the Bosnian Serbs during the 1991 to 95 Bosnian Civil War, the 1995 genocide in Srebrenica, and the 1998 Serbian invasion of Kosovo and the subsequent NATO intervention. I even conducted fieldwork in 2010 in Bosnia and Rwanda with the help of scholarships from LEH, Humanities, and other sources. Coincidentally, as well, my thesis advisor, Professor Sheldon Eklund Olson, who was in the Department of Sociology, was instrumental in founding liberal arts honors in the year 1990. I also took a thesis preparation class during the spring of my junior year called The Nature of Inquiry, and I joined what was back then an invitation-only Junior Fellows Research Consortium with top UT undergraduate researchers from across the university during my senior year. I graduated with departmental honors in liberal arts, and I also completed the upper division liberal arts honor certificate. So I did like pretty much everything academically that you could do in LEH that was available to me, and I can't understate how influential LEH was for setting me on a lifelong commitment to pursuing a purposeful and well-examined life. Getting into LEH is a little bit less competitive than Plan 2, partly since it's a little less popular and also since it's not as well suited for those interdisciplinary studies outside of the liberal arts. The admissions rate is also a little bit higher, perhaps maybe 20 to 25%, and I suspect that the average rank is around the top 5% with the 1450 on the SAT. Like Plan 2, they change their essay topics most years, but what they tend to look for are reasons why it's worthwhile to pursue a liberal arts education for its own sake, rather than as a means to some other end, like a well-paying job or going to medical or law school or something like that. They look for high-quality, cogent, and concise writing, and their applications, similar to other honors programs, are read by LEH staff, and so those decisions are made by committee. So you will receive a closer read of your application than in the regular admissions process, which is read by individual reviewers. Reading about what the liberal arts means and what sorts of courses it entails can help you answer that honors prompt, but it's difficult to do so, to say, like, why do I want to study the liberal arts, since, like, these perspectives aren't really taught in high school English or social studies classes. However, like, high school speech and debate does cover a lot of that philosophy or humanities type of material in courses that overlap with the purpose of LEH, but it's quite hard to write that essay because you haven't yet explored what the liberal arts means, and I didn't know what any of that meant until maybe like my third or fourth year at UT. The final non-STEM honors program I want to cover is in the Moody College of Communications. I'll be upfront that I know the least about this program among any of the honors programs. It's also relatively new, forming less than a decade ago. The Moody College in general is one of the top-ranked communications programs in the country, so it stands to reason that incoming honors students are some of the most talented students around, interested in those communication areas. Similar to other honors programs, Moody Honors provides smaller class sizes, dedicated academic advisors, access to those honors residence halls, and honors-only extracurriculars and events. It also helps connect students with research opportunities and faculty mentors. Moody Honors requires taking 5 classes during your first 2 years, which is independent or regardless of your specific major. I've looked into these courses and they seem similar to the type of rigorous liberal arts classes that you might take in Plan 2 or LEH, but admissions-wise, there's basically like no information about it, and for a communications program, they don't do a very good job of communicating what they look for, or even providing their average admitted student statistics. They don't even share like the program size on their website. And so I had to watch like an official YouTube video where one of the student interviewers said that, like, yeah, we have 30 or 40 freshmen that enroll each year. And like, that's the only information I could find. And so I'm taking some wild guesses here, just kind of based on what I know about other honors programs or like Moody admitted statistics in general. But I imagine it's similarly competitive to Plan 2, maybe admitting around 10% of their applicants. But competitive applicants will have extensive leadership and communications-oriented experiences on their resume. They're also going to be some of the top students in their senior class. The Moody's honors essay topic has remained the same in recent years, and it asks, with great power comes great responsibility. How do you think it applies to the realm of human communication? Explain your thoughts using an example from current events, history, film, literature, or your own life in 350 words. This topic is difficult to give generic advice about, and it's much easier for me to work through those ideas and drafts directly with students applying for Moody Honors. Like, even when I inputted into ChatGPT, I said, hey, can you give me tips for this essay? It returned like very unhelpful responses. Still, there are many ways to answer this question, but I recommend not taking an obvious approach like referencing MLK's I Have a Dream speech or JFK's Ask Not What Your Country Can Do for You, because many students are going to write on that topic. It does help to identify and develop a specific example to make it more concrete, but the key thing is to personalize what your example means to you and how it's influenced your beliefs, behaviors, and goals. If you're applying for the radio, television, and film major, then choosing a relevant film example could help to tie into your interests. The main thing is to avoid talking generically or vaguely about power, communication, and media. I hope you've enjoyed these perspectives and tips about Plan 2, LEH, and Moody Honors. If you want assistance on writing your UT Honors essays, reach out to me directly at kevin@texasadmissions.com or complete the questionnaire in the information section of this video for a free email admissions consultation. Thanks, and I hope you have a great day.